You can't get far in this world without money. Today we need money to survive and get through each day. Our whole lives are based around what we have, what we can afford, and what we want. Money can create smiles and wealth, but a lack creates depression. And through the dark times, we are always working to make things better. The 1960s, the economic stuff.
The 60s were an interesting decade. We were fighting in two wars, one of fear and one of guns, all defending the hippies at home. We had Mr. Kennedy and the British invasion. We had Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement. We had a bunch of important deaths and a bunch of people who got mad because of them. But we start before the 60s with the beginning of one of the country's biggest economic endeavors. And it all began when Russia launched Sputnik. The space race was born. The space race cost a lot. NASA needed about $10 billion to put their new plans into action. But where did they get all that money? Taxes. Congress passed new tax increases, but the people were fine with paying them because they had a deep fascination with the space race. Then all of the new technologies that came around during this time influenced future companies such as Apple, IBM, Google, Amazon, and Cisco. Over the course of 10 years, NASA took up about 50% of government funding, and through those 10 years, they spent about $167 billion putting a man on the moon. And that number confused me a bit.
That $167 billion was calculated in today's money, and I needed help finding out how much it was back in the 1960s, and hopefully get a better perspective of how much that money actually was. So I decided to go see my friend, who was an expert.
Now, you seem to know a lot about the space race, and I was just wondering, is there any way that you could better explain how much money that really was?
It's a lot.
Really?
Does it or does it not say expert right here?
Now that I knew that it was a lot of money, I felt like I had a much better understanding of all this, and now we're going to move on to the next thing.
And that next thing is communism. We started fighting in the Vietnam War just to stop communism from spreading, but it turned into a big, long battle that we didn't even win. We converted consumer good factories into producing wartime materials, and that caused a big controversy over the government's handling of economic policy. We also sent so much money overseas that the value of the dollar plummeted because we never got any of that money back. And then to wrap it all up, we got a bunch of working people to go over and fight, and that caused the businesses to produce a lot less. Now, I know that last video wasn't the best, but look what I found. It's a Life magazine from July 16th, 1965, and I just wanted to show you. Look at these people smoking. That's really important. And look at these people on the beach. That's really important as well. Now, you might ask what smoking and being on the beach has to do with economics. Nothing. That has nothing to do with economics. But during the 60s, they were creating new types of advertising. Everything was in color. A few years before this, everything was just black and white. They also started to filter out drawings for actual pictures, since photography and printing were becoming more advanced. This was also when the baby boomers were spending all of their money. Over 50% of the population was under 25, so ads started to cater more to them. This was all called new advertising. Big displays, colorful posters, and most importantly, TV. Everyone had TV, and the whole family would come and sit in front of it and see the ads. And all of this stuff really influenced how people spent their money. Now, I need to talk about the race riots of the late 1960s. After years of racism, they were sparked by the assassination of Martin Luther King. Riots broke out in the black neighborhoods of America's biggest cities. The income of the average black family fell 9%. while their property values fell 14 to 20%. Every inner city home had a value drop of 6 to 10%, no matter who owned it, no matter black or white. Nationwide, there was over 15,000 separate cases of arson.
In areas like these, cities became a lot less desirable, and society began to take a turn for the worse. Families and businesses started to move out of the cities, and because of this, some never fully recovered.
But on a brighter note, entertainment. Americans began to spend a lot more on music, sports, and movies. Later in the decade, we had the first Woodstock Music Festival, we had the first Super Bowl, and movie prices became a lot cheaper. Family vacations became a thing that they would do each year. Overall, Americans spent $85 billion on entertainment in the 60s, which was more than twice the previous decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we have Miss Marilyn Monroe presenting you with happy birthday to President Kennedy.
Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. Haha, that was good.
Thanks for watching my video. I'm gonna pass it off now to Alex. I'm still mad at you though.